Welcome back to the show. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. You're with Talk TV. Now, the new MP for Rochdale, George Galloway, is to be sworn into Parliament today after Rishi Sunak targeted both Islamist and far-right extremists, saying democracy is under threat. It comes as today we found out that hate preachers will be blocked from entering the UK. I mean, I thought they already were. Joining me right now is one of the three deputy leaders of the Workers' Party of Great Britain. That is Peter Ford. Makes him a deputy, of course, to George Galloway, the new and only MP for the Workers' Party. Good morning to you, Peter.
Well, thank you for having me, Julia. You're my heroine, not least for your brave appearances on Question Time.
Well, this was not how I thought this interview was going to start, Peter. I'm not going to lie.
I asked them to tell you. I'm a big supporter of yours on the climate nonsense. Well,
OK, we've got something in common. Can I just say, the bit of a problem with your volume on your speaker, I don't know whether there's the microphone is moving or what's going on there, but if we can keep it...
Can you hear me?
That's much better, right.
Now?
Let's leave it like that. Don't move. Don't do anything different. We can hear you now. Right. Let's talk about this. The Prime Minister, after the election of your colleague, George Galloway, on early hours of Friday morning, has basically been pretty critical of George Galloway. He said it's beyond alarming that last night, he said, the Rochdale by-election returned a candidate who dismisses the horror of what happened on October the 7th, who glorifies Hezbollah and is endorsed by Nick Griffin, the racist former leader of the BNP. In return, George Galloway, in an interview, said he despises the Prime Minister. Is this the sort of politics that will help improve the country?
Yes. Well, it was shocking that the Prime Minister saw fit to attack a new MP who had just been returned with an avalanche of votes. I think it was disrespectful towards the electorate. It was undignified. And then he went on to dig himself into a bigger hole by talking about extremism. I was in Rochdale. I was in the campaign. I can tell you there was no extremism on display. And what Sunak is doing is trying to whip up hysteria in the hope of rescuing Tory fortunes. His politicizing of the situation with the Muslim community is quite shameful and dangerous. But George enters Parliament today. It's a new dawn. It's a bright day. And he's looking forward to having an impact.
I mean, I'm sorry, the only people who were exploiting this issue was your party, was George Galloway. Seen the leaflets that were sent to different streets in different wards. So if you were in a largely white ward, you got a letter all about the local hospital, maternity services and the Rochdale grooming gangs and tackling those issues. If you lived in a largely Muslim ward, you got a letter all about how this was all about Gaza. When George Galloway was elected, his first thing, he said, this is victory for Gaza. He's going to be the MP for Gaza rather than the MP for Rochdale. Rochdale is a town with huge social and economic problems, huge issues that need to be dealt with, both historic and more recent. Having an MP who is obsessed with what happens thousands of miles away in Gaza isn't going to help those people. It's George Galloway, it's your colleague in your party who has politicised this, not the Prime Minister.
Julia, George was echoing the concerns of the people of Rochdale. Many of them in all the wards, and I tramped the streets, I can tell you it wasn't just the Muslims, in all the wards were concerned about Gaza, which is top of the news, has been for months on end. It's not unreasonable that the people of Rochdale should want to know what's the position of the candidates on that issue.
I'm sorry, there's a difference between something being top of the news and something being a major issue in a local election, a by-election. I mean, I know, for instance, if there was a by-election in the North London seat where I lived, I'd be more concerned about, whether there was going to be pressure to get more bin collections. And, the 20-mile-per-hour limit on major streets and things like that. I'd bet building more housing for local families. I'd be more concerned about that than I would about what's happening in Gaza. I can still be concerned about Gaza, you know, as a human being, as a journalist, but it wouldn't be how I'd made my vote. Why has divisive Middle Eastern politics, why has it found its place in British politics in such a divisive way that we've even seen, you know, the impact on our democratic institution in Parliament, where MPs are feeling pressure on how to vote a certain way on British foreign policy because of violent threats from those extremists who apparently don't really exist?
Julia, you should pay more attention, do better research. You will have seen that George made a big thing of maternity services or lack of.
I've just literally mentioned that a few
Rochdale
minutes ago.
and many other local issues.
Not in the leaflet.
Honestly,
Not in the
you haven't
leaflet
done
to
your
Muslim
homework.
homes. He didn't. The leaflet to Muslim homes was about Gaza. I've read both leaflets.
Many of the people of Gaza were very concerned about Gaza.
The people of
We
Gaza.
make no
Yeah, you are. You
apology
see,
for
now
that.
wasn't that a wonderful Freudian slip? The people of Gaza are concerned. No, they're the people of Rochdale. They're concerned about getting a job, being able to buy a home one day, getting social housing, their kids getting a good education, whether their bins are collected, whether they can get a hospital operation. But he wasn't talking about that to the Muslim voters. He only talked about that to the white voters. I've no doubt at all he appealed an awful lot to a lot of white voters. A lot of the things he was talking about on those leaflets, I thought, yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. But nevertheless, this was a completely divided election. Here's the thing, though. What is he going to do in Parliament that is going to change anything for either the people of Rochdale or the people of Gaza?
You're talking nonsense, Julia. George spoke about the NHS, about taxes, about cost of living, and all the other issues that are at the top of people's minds. It wasn't just about Gaza. Get that into your head. I was there. Were you there? I can tell you, day after day, George was not just talking about Gaza, and now he's in Parliament. He will do more.
Okay, so what's he going to do? What's he going to do?
Ordinary workers, ordinary working class people about all their daily concerns. But war is a concern. It's top of the news every day, day after day, for a reason. This war in Ukraine, this war on behalf of Israel, is costing us hundreds of millions of pounds. The people of Britain are not happy about that. If we were less involved in wars, we'd have more money for the NHS.
Less involved in wars? We're not involved in the war in Gaza.
You're wrong, Julia.
We're fighting the war in Gaza,
think
are
the cost of having a Royal Navy patrol in the Red Sea is zero? Do some investigative
we have Royal Navy patrols. The Royal Navy patrols seas and oceans, whether there's a war or not. And do you think the Royal Navy shouldn't patrol when Houthi rebels fire on international and British shipping? Do you think they should just go, oh, never mind, that's fine?
The British government are spending hundreds of millions of pounds on the defence of Israel.
Oh,
we need to ask the people of this country whether they're happy with that when the money could be better spent elsewhere. The Royal Navy is not cheap. The Royal Air Force, which is flying regularly into Israeli airports with fresh supplies, is not cheap. Intelligence support for Israel is not cheap.
So we shouldn't be supporting our democratically elected allies when they are when they are attacked then?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
We shouldn't support our democratically elected allies when they're attacked. Is that what you're saying?
As far as I know, Israel isn't an ally. It's not
you don't think Israel's an ally? I'm pretty sure Israel's an ally of this country and everyone in the West, yes. Well, are you going to question whether it's a democratically elected government as well? Should we go full conspiracy theory?
It's just sour grapes, Julia, because you got trounced in the Rochdale election.
I didn't stand as a candidate. I don't hold a candle for any of the candidates who stood in that by-election. I think it was an absolute travesty for the people of Rochdale in terms of what was on offer to them.
The election of someone who was voicing the concerns of millions of ordinary British people.
And Palestinians.
You were trounced. Your side were trounced.
No, I wasn't. No, my side. No, I didn't have a side in the Rochdale by-election other than the people of Rochdale. I don't like George Galloway. I think George Galloway only cares about George Galloway. I don't like a man who sucks up to Middle East dictators and who spouts the stuff he spouts. No, I'm not a fan. But I totally respect the fact that he was able to get himself elected. He got himself elected. If the other parties couldn't stand a better candidate than him, they deserve to lose. I've got no issue with that. Oh, we've got your back. But fundamentally, I want to know, what is he going to do for those people? Have we got Peter Ford back? We've got a problem with his link, I think. Right. What is he going to do to improve the lives of people in Rochdale and/or people in Gaza who he thinks he represents?
What he's going to do is articulate the concerns of millions of ordinary people, both about the situation in the Middle East and their regular concerns, not least things like net zero. We are the only party represented now in Parliament which is calling for a referendum on net zero. He'll be talking about the concerns of the Welsh farmers who are up in arms and having to take to the streets in their tractors because their industry is being destroyed in the name of net zero.
Okay, I mean, look, we'll agree on that issue, but you know, well, do tell lovely George to unblock me because he's done that petulant blocking thing, and then he's very welcome to come on and talk about sensible things like that. We're going to have to leave it there because time is against us. Peter Ford, thank you very much for joining us. He is one of the 3 deputy leaders of the Workers' Party of Britain.